Welcome, everybody, to the Grueling Crew Sports Network. Survive in advance today. This is Friday, so tomorrow, Steve's off, just like every other day. And before we get into the show, we're going to talk WNBA today, a little Caitlin Clark, a little whether the WNBA is even a viable product, which it may be right now in the sports landscape, the way it sets up. But if you're going to bet on any WNBA games, which kicks off here in less than a month, go to BetMGM for all your sports betting needs. Top sports recommended sports book out there. Also for betting on the NBA, you can click on the link in the description down below in YouTube. I'm Mike Goodpaster. I'd like to welcome in, as always, my co-host for Survive in Advance, 1981 national champion Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, doing great. Good ending to the week here. It's you were talking, Mike, whether the landscape's worth talking about or not. You know what's really funny? You know what starts this weekend?
What?
The NBA playoffs. And what are we talking about?
It's already started.
I mean, I'm in LA, okay? I'm in LA, and this is the home of the Clippers and the Lakers. And all the talk's been about Caitlin Clark and the WNBA, and they haven't even mentioned the Sparks. They just keep talking about Caitlin Clark.
So that's kind of my thing. What I get here is this. I think if we look back at the NBA, Caitlin Clark has got to be like Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, all wrapped into one.
Oh, I agree.
And the thing is, if you look back at that 1979, when they played the national championship game, highest rated NCAA basketball championship game ever played, it still is. It did.
No, not until 1981.
No, 1979 was like 75 million people watched it. 12 people watched you beat North Carolina. And yes, I mean you, because you combined for 26 points with Isaiah Thomas to win the national championship. Yes, but what a lot of people don't remember is when I was growing up, you were growing up 1970s, early 80s. Hell, NBA finals games, unless they were a weekend game, were tape delayed. Yes. So you'd have to sit and, I mean, if Philadelphia's playing LA in 1980, game 6 of the NBA finals, I'm sitting there, and when the guy gets ready to show the highlights, they'll say, okay, now turn the volume down on your TV and look away if you want to watch the game afterwards. And we would watch it. And the first NBA finals that was shown entirely in prime time was the 1983 finals between the Lakers and the 76ers. Bird and Magic paved the way for Michael Jordan. Caitlin Clark right now is expected to be Bird, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan all rolled into one, because now we've got an 8-figure shoe deal with Nike for Caitlin Clark, and 8 of the 40 games that the Indiana Fever play will be nationally televised. So I think it's safe to say the WNBA is putting all their eggs in the Caitlin Clark basket. Now, the question today is, everybody saw what Caitlin Clark is making. They know that the number 1 through the number 4 draft picks in the WNBA draft will make a base first-year salary of $74,305. It tops out fourth year at $94,000. Now, I've seen a lot of people, because they're stupid, saying this is not enough money. Steve, is that enough money for playing 40 games over about 4 or 5 months to make $74,000 as a base salary?
Yeah, I definitely think for what the product's borne out financially all the WNBA teams are still a drag on NBA teams. I don't think there's a profitable WNBA team that I'm aware of.
No, last year operating losses were $12 million.
Yeah, and so you can see that all of these are a financial drain on any NBA franchise. Now, you've got struggling franchises out there that are trying to put all their eggs into building an NBA team, and now they're losing $12 million or any part of that to covering a WNBA franchise. So I think Caitlin Clark's going to be a welcome breath of fresh air to the WNBA, because I think a rising tide, raises all buoys. And Caitlin Clark is that rising tide right now. I think she's going to elevate all of the payouts. Advertising money to a WNBA game is going to go up. More product, more people are going to want to get sponsored. It's kind of like the Danica Patrick syndrome in auto racing. I know you don't follow auto racing, but Danica Patrick's an athlete who's in her time now. She's worth $60 to $75 million. As a mediocre driver, only won one race in her top level racing career, yet her endorsement value and her value to both IndyCar racing and NASCAR racing was immeasurable. She was a cash cow for him. Caitlin Clark is going to become a cash cow for the WNBA. and for all the teams involved, because all the advertisers are going to come in and want to be a part of that 38 of 40 games. That's not stupid on Silver's part, but I think ultimately runs.
Yeah, but Silver got lucky here. He never knew that was going to happen. And let's face it.
No, he didn't. I mean, now here's the $10 question, Mike, that we'll get into at some point on the schedule today. now the weight's thrown back on Caitlin's shoulders to perform. I mean, for them to sustain this kind of opportunity, I mean, Bird and Magic performed out their yin-yangs. Jordan came along and performed.
Yeah, she's going to have to perform.
She's got to perform now. The ball's back in her court now to get out there and see what she can do, not against college talent, which we all know is completely different than professional talent, and see if she can maintain that level of dominance that she had in college in the WNBA. That's the next story waiting to be told. But right. I think this is a good thing. I think she's worth what she's paid for. Remember, the WNBA plays a 36 to 40 game schedule. Okay. And there's plenty of opportunity about going overseas and these girls making big money. Ask Brittany Griner how that worked out for her.
Well, I'll tell you this. David Burnworth
says, making $1 million in Russia, though, to play.
David Burnworth, who's with the Pennsylvania Football News, makes a comment. He says, only stupid people who are not educated on how the pay is set up in sports are the only dumbasses crying over this.
Right.
And I will say this. This is all about a woke agenda where, women should make what men can make. But let's face it.
They shouldn't.
Caitlin-Clark. I mean, and this is the thing. Nobody ever says, why don't male porn stars make more money? Why don't they make as much as the female ones? Right? Nobody ever says that because it's obvious. People pay to see one. The other one is just kind of an ornament there.
Mike, I will be happy to say I have never turned on and watched a porn movie because of the guy involved in the porn movie.
Well, you're a guy too, so. But, I mean, it is basic economics. Last year, the WNBA had an average of 500,000 to 600,000 people a game watch the games. So I would say this.
6,600.
Huh?
Well, 6,600 was the average attendance for all WNBA games.
Well, I was talking about the people that watched. The attendance is a little over 6,000. So I will say this. If this was the men's WNBA and it was run like this and had these numbers, it would not exist.
No.
And the thing is, 1999, I think, is when the WNBA started. They've lost an average of $10 million a year for 25 years. They were forced to do that because of the way the woke economy is. Now, the thing I don't understand is this. There's a lot of people that rip on Caitlin-Clark. They're already in the WNBA. We've seen it with Diana Taurasi, all these other people. And I think it's just simple fact is, I think they're upset because she's not a lesbian and she's not black. The lesbian thing being number one. We've heard, and I mean, the thing is this. When you look at this overall, I mean, that kind of hurts the marketing. I mean, I'm sorry, but in a world that is what, 10, 15, 20% tops gay, to have a league that is 80% gay does not help you. And the only thing that can save the WNBA is Caitlin-Clark being an absolute stud right now. And another thing that could really blow this up is during the season, a couple months in, there is an Olympic women's basketball team that will be playing for gold, which would do huge numbers. It would pick up the WNBA big time. Now, right now, they've already got 12 or 13 members of that team selected.
There's only one spot available on the women's team, I think.
And they've got to give it to somebody. And there was, and it should go to Caitlin.
It should go to Caitlin.
It should.
Yeah, I can't believe they actually even picked the team before the draft happened.
What it was for the last spot for the tryout, they offered her to come in and try out. The problem was her team was in the Final Four. So if the WNBA is absolutely stupid, they will not pick her. But what I saw is the woman who was in charge for the U.S. Olympic Selection Committee all basically said, well, we're more worried about fairness right here. So that right there, that makes me worried that they may not pick her because it's not being fair because she's not. And the thing that, like I said, worries me is this is a white, straight woman who's probably going to get married to her boyfriend. And that's strike one, strike two, strike three. But what these women need to realize is that is what will save them. because
She's a cash cow right now.
people want somebody like them. And I'm not even talking about white. I'm just talking about straight. You're not gay. You're not out there promoting a woke agenda, acting like you're as good as a man. I don't think anybody thinks that has half a brain. Let's face it. When I watch women's college basketball, I like to watch it. I watched it this year. I watched it last year a little bit, a lot because of Caitlin Clark, a lot because of Angel Reese, people like that, because they have personalities now. And when I watch it, I mean, to me, it's like watching a high-level junior high basketball game for boys. It just is. And I'm fine with that. But we got to realize what it is. It's supposed to be entertainment. Caitlin Clark makes it entertaining because Caitlin Clark looks like she might be able to play on a boys' high school team.
Yeah, I want to go out too, and I want to congratulate and really pay compliments to Angel Reese. I mean, she was considered the top player until Caitlin really just exploded.
I don't think she was.
And I thought she handled it very gracefully.
Did she?
I
think she's an absolute thug bitch who plays for Kim McCulkey.
Well,
during the
season, that's one thing. I'm talking about the draft, the night of the draft.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Once you got your ass kicked by somebody, you kind of got to be nice to them. But I remember what happened last year.
Anyway, I thought Angel Reese's stock went up in my boat. I'm sorry.
No, Angel Reese's stock goes up for being the villain because you need a villain.
I don't see her as a villain.
She's a villain. With the shit she did, you obviously don't watch women's college basketball. Obviously. And Kim Mulkey's an absolute
I was a villain
joke.
too then.
I mean, you weren't a villain because you have to be really good to be a villain.
Okay. All right. Well, I give you that.
I never said
it was really good.
No, I'm kidding.
Never said that.
I am kidding, Steve. There was no villains on an Indiana basketball team because the head coach made sure he was the villain to keep the heat off of everybody else, correct?
I don't know.
David Burnworth, most of the lesbian WNBA players look and try to act like guys. It is a big turnoff to viewers. I agree. The LSU player is what Mike said, and she has or seems to have major race issues. All these people do. They have major race issues, major sexuality issues. That's basically everybody under the age of 40. Yeah, they do. How can you not say that?
How much of that is fabricated by woke people wanting to create race issues? And how much of it really is among the players?
I guarantee you it's there. I mean, it's been proven. I mean, you had the black player who was drafted in the first round 3 years ago who retired because she said she was tired of being bullied for not being a lesbian.
I grew up playing with black people.
We're not talking about black people, okay? This has nothing to do with black people.
Most of my teammates were black. And I mean, you were judged not based on your skin color among the team, based on what you contribute to the team. I was never kicked out of or ever told I can't come and go play in the Dust Bowls down in Indianapolis. Where that's where Woody and them grew up and played, and a lot of the better inner city players. I was always welcome to go down there and play. And I was one of the white guys there.
But there's no difference between a white person and a black person. This is the thing. I'm going to give you this. There was Candace Wiggins. You ever hear of her? She was a college basketball star, third pick in a 2008 WNBA draft and a 2011 champion. And at the mountaintop of her basketball career, her sexuality marred the moment. This is from an article about her. And she says, it was like my dreams came true to play in the WNBA, but when I got there, it was quite the opposite. I wanted to play 2 more seasons of WNBA, but the experience didn't lend itself to my mental state. It was a depressing state to WNBA. It's not washed. Our value is diminished, and it can be quite hard. I don't like the culture inside the WNBA, and it was toxic for me. My spirit was broken because I was straight, and I was tired of being harassed for being straight and fighting for attention in a league that is starved. And she goes on to say, me being heterosexual and straight and being vocal in my identity as a straight woman was huge, Wiggins said.
Yeah, and I'll bet Lewis and Clark didn't stay in a Holiday Inn Select either.
I don't know what the hell that means, Steve.
What that means is sometimes life is tough, and when you're paving the road.
That's a joke. You're paving the road as a straight person? That's messed up.
You're paving, yeah, because we all know the league probably is predominantly lesbian.
I don't think it's predominantly. I think it's probably 40%, but that's double what it is there.
Why are we getting on a track about this? Let's get back to the whole issue here was whether Caitlin Clark is being paid fairly according
No,
to
there's a bunch of
she is.
issues here that we're trying to hit on.
First off, the woman walked into the NBA draft in a $17,000 Prada couture gown.
Because she made $3 million last year.
Right, $3 million. Which brings me to another point. We had this discussion off air. Tell everybody, Mike, who the number one nil paid athlete was in college sports last year.
Steve, that would be Bronny James, who played.
Can you believe that?
Yeah,
now, who was number two?
Bronny James.
Who was number two?
Who was number two? I know Livy Dunn was number 2 or 3.
No, she was number 3.
Who was number 2?
Number 2 was Deion Sanders' son.
Shador Sanders. I just tried. Steve cannot say Shador to save his life.
Shador, no.
You just said it, Steve. There you go. Okay, all right, real quick. We've got Balin Gardner, old buddy. Good afternoon and happy Friday, gentlemen. Haven't seen the show since my alma mater, Scottsburg, won their first ever men's 3A state title. Hope you all have a good one and go Hoosiers. Robert Stewart says, with Clark on the fever, I wonder what will happen with Grace Berger, the other number 34 from IU. Do you want to?
Well, I'm a 34 from IU too.
That's why he said another 34 from IU. I think he was complimenting you, Steve.
Oh, thank you.
You know, I mean, people.
The only question I have for Balin is what were Dan Dockage's comments on Scottsburg winning a state championship?
Dan Dockage is too busy making political statements.
Irregardless, Caitlin Clark is not hurting for money. She's reaping as much money off women's basketball as any women's player is right now. $3 million in nil money coming in. Her endorsement package is going to be in the tens of millions. Nike is, like we said, Nike is making a Caitlin Clark shoe. She's going to, along with Jordan, because it's not going to sell like Jordan, but she's going to have her own, first female athlete to have her own shoe. All right. So she's going to reap big off of that. That's why they dumped Tiger Woods, just because they wanted to sign Caitlin Clark. The contract that she got is a standard. Every number one pick in the NBA, in the WNBA, gets that contract. 76.5 for the first 3 years, 97.5 in year 4 on the option is what I got. Now you got a little bit different numbers, so they're there. Compare that to an NBA rookie contract standard for a number one pick, $10 million first year, and then declining just a little bit, but the bonuses are going up.
Well, I will tell you this too: she's not the first woman to have even a Nike shoe named after her. Did you know that? Not. The first was Cheryl Swoops, who had Air Swoops.
Okay, I was not aware of it.
1995. I wasn't either. I looked it up, so it's not like I am smarter than you. Other than the fact that
you are smarter than me.
I know. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. But Robert says, what's Robert say? And the NBA vets hate she already has made $3 million without playing a game.
Why do you begrudge anybody whatever money they can make?
Because they do. Because this is the thing. Because this entire world anymore is hateful assholes, especially under the age of 40.
Yeah. Do you know what? Do you know what Caitlin Clark probably does not have that most NBA players have?
A penis.
A posse.
No, it's a penis.
Well, they have that.
He accidentally said the NBA. He meant the WNBA.
Well, no, the NBA players all have posses.
They all
we used to live close to who's the guy who used to play for the Clippers or plays for the Clippers? George.
Paul George.
He lived pretty close to us, and we lived in Indianapolis. You could drive by stuff. He always had 15, 20 people living in his house. His posse just mooching off the guy living there.
I mean, you should have done that with Isaiah.
Isaiah got married right out of college.
But you still could have been in his posse.
I could have been. I don't think I fit Isaiah's posse.
Why not, Steve?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it was the height thing. I don't know. I think it was height.
All right. So I think this. I think if the WNBA markets this right, puts Caitlin Clark in the Olympics, I mean, they're going to put her on TV 38 times.
I cannot believe she wouldn't be on the Olympic team.
She has to be on. I mean, this is the thing.
That would be political suicide for
this in
USA women's basketball.
Hey, in 1992, instead of putting an Isaiah Thomas on the Dream Team, they put Christian Laettner there because of how good he was in college. How many people loved him?
No, it's because Jordan hated. It's because Jordan hated Isaiah.
Well, no, they were going to put anybody. They didn't have to put Christian Laettner there, though.
No, but they did it to spite Isaiah.
Well, yeah, I mean, because Michael Jordan's kind of an
Michael Jordan was
asshole,
running
but
the roost then. Yeah.
yeah, even though Isaiah was one of the 2 or 3 best point guards that ever lived, we're
Yeah.
going to take Christian Laettner
And I
instead.
taught him most of what he knows.
I'm sure you did, Steve.
I did.
Like what?
I learned it from Magic. Watch him as he went by me every time.
Oh, I thought you said you fouled him every time.
I did, but it still didn't stop him.
Nobody even called it because it wasn't. You couldn't even hit him hard enough to get a foul. Yeah.
Anyway, I think that this whole crap about what NBA players make and what WNBA, you're talking about attendance of 6,000 versus 18,000. You're talking about average ticket prices. Ticket prices in the WNBA, what I write down, average $73 to $24. Believe it or not, the cheapest ticket in the WNBA on average is the LA Sparks. Find that hard to believe, but then that's Jeannie Buss owning it, saying female owner,
trying to put
the only
people in there.
owner. She just wants to put a team out there, and she's based 100. How many of those 66? How much that is paid attendance is the thing.
That's always the question, because
it's always the question.
Yeah. A lot of places.
But WNBA ticket prices on average run between $8,500 to $85 to $95 a ticket. That's on average across the board in the in the NBA. So the income revenue.
Here, I can answer part of the attendance question with Robert. They give away WNBA tickets at Kroger.
Yeah.
I assume he's talking. Are you talking about for Fever games, Robert, or are you talking in general, or are you being sarcastic?
No, I think he's speaking the truth.
I think he is too. That's why I'm just asking which team he's talking about.
Yeah. And I think overall, despite the financial drain it's been on some teams, and like for the Lakers, it's not a financial drain. I mean, the Lakers, the big city, big market teams can handle it. Pacers might be a little bit of the Fever, maybe a little bit of a financial drain. You got
they're
Mel
not anymore.
No, they're not anymore. They'll
probably be more popular than the Pacers. Yeah.
Yeah. Herb Simon stepped into that pile of crap, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, right now everybody did, because really, I think this was a dying league.
Oh yeah,
and now it's not. But I'll tell you another thing that gives me even more hope is when you look at the numbers, because everybody talks about the numbers the Caitlin Clark game did, but there was games like South Carolina in the Elite Eight when they played that drew 5 or 6 million viewers.
South Carolina.
And the thing is this, I mean, when you look at the TV ratings, they have exponentially gone up over the last 3 years, not just for Caitlin Clark games. But the other thing is, let's face it, not many people give two craps about the NBA anymore, because the NBA has gone over the top with a woke league. I mean, you got guys showing up to games on a runway in a dress. You got the NFL where the first guy picked in the draft, there's a picture of him in a red dress and he paints his fingernails. People are tired of that crap. If the WNBA could just, they won't do this, but if they can knock off the woke crap and just play ball and market this correctly, hell, I think the WNBA could outdraw the NBA right now, because people are sick of watching the woke crap all over the place. That's all we see. So now if Caitlin Clark cannot fall into that, and the WNBA will just promote her as the best player, because I can tell you this. The best female college basketball player I've ever seen is Cheryl Miller. I don't think there's anything Caitlin Clark could ever do to change my mind on that, because I think Cheryl Miller was a woman that looked like she could play against men in the 1980s. And if you listen to Reggie
all the time,
Reggie says it all the time, and I don't think Reggie's going to admit to losing to anybody, including his sister, unless he actually lost to her. So I think there are some very talented women in this league. Yeah. Now it's not going to be the same quality as the NBA, but really, when you look at it,
or is it not?
Hold on, that's what I'm saying, because they may not be the athletes, you may not be able to dunk as well, but they don't play defense hardly at all in the NBA. The NBA has become a joke, especially the All-Star game, and professional sports as a whole has become a joke. You've got the NFL now, where it's going to turn into flag football within the next decade, because they're taking every rule out of it to get rid of all the violence, because who wants to watch violence? We want to all be nice to each other, which is absolute horse crap. But
like interjecting, and I heard this the other day, apparently now NFL quarterbacks are starting to say enough is enough. We're here to play football. It is a contact sport.
It doesn't
You can't.
matter because they're not going to change the rules. So
No,
they can
because
get
if they
hit.
invest too much money, $50 million in Aaron Rodgers, they're not going to, and the guy 4 plays into it, busts his Achilles heel
Well,
without getting
and the
cut.
thing is this, as they have lessened the violence in football, injuries have skyrocketed. I mean, there's more guys that get hurt during a season. I mean, hell, over half the starting quarterbacks in the NFL
Because they
last
don't
year missed
condition and
time.
train. They don't do contact training.
Yeah,
They
you're
don't
not allowed. You're allowed a
allowed.
certain
Yeah.
amount of contact. You
Yeah.
only have 3 preseason games. And now when you go to camp, it used to be 2 a days. Now that's too violent. That's too rough. So you
It's too much
really,
work too.
yeah, it's too much work. And the main thing is they want everything to be safe. And this is the problem with this world. If stuff is safe, it's not very much fun. I'm sorry. It's just not. I mean, football, basketball, all these things, if you played them from the time you were 10 to the time you were 23 or 24, you have a hard time getting up out of bed in the morning. You have a
Well,
hard time walking.
if you do it safe, you get golf and NASCAR.
Yeah, but the thing is this, even when you go to golf when you're in your 50s and 60s, things get hurt just because you were beat up when you were younger. But I can tell you this, if you're not willing to get in a physical confrontation, what fun is it when you're a teenager, Steve? I mean, we've dumbed down the NBA where you can't foul somebody hard because you're going to get in trouble.
I know. I mean,
It's just.
I know. I hate.
It's basically this is what we got. This is the perfect situation because you've got a great player. You got a few great players coming up with her. They have feminized everything in America. You take the fathers out of marriage, and yeah, Balin says pro sports is all soft except hockey. Hockey's soft.
Players play.
You're not allowed to fight anymore though in the regular season, or you get suspended. I mean, it's the feminization of everything. We're gonna have Caleb Williams, who wears a dress and paints his fingernails, is going to be leading a team. I don't want that to be my team because you can't win with guys like that.
What was the old joke? I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out.
Yeah, but anymore you can't.
Not
even
anymore.
do that.
It's not like that.
No, now it's the hockey. There was a fight that broke out, but now the hockey players are suspended because they were too rough with each other. I mean, it's why people don't want to watch sports anymore.
Well, Mike, give it this. What's the biggest boxing match coming up between now and July?
Oh, Beterbiev and Bivol. That's a titanic fight.
Okay,
but this is my point, though.
But to you two as a boxer, yes.
Yeah,
but the general public, it's Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson.
Yeah, and Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. I don't even know that right now is considered a circus. It's a circus I want every part of. I want to watch that. But
it's free on Netflix. I'm definitely watching it.
I would have paid to see it just because you know why we would pay to see it? You know why we're interested, though, Steve? Because Mike Tyson at one point was a gladiator that went to war. And we don't get to see guys like that anymore. Whatever anybody says about, well, I'm glad Tom Brady retired, you're not really if you're a sports fan. Because Tom Brady was a dude that did it into his 40s better than anybody that ever did it. We watched LeBron James. I was a fan of LeBron James the first 10 years of his career in Cleveland. He was a great player, one of the best players I've ever seen. But I turned on a game the other night in their play-in game. There's a dude that he runs by the dude, runs into him. LeBron throws himself on the ground like he got killed, lays there for a minute, then gets up and whines because they didn't call a foul. And this happened like 4 times in the game. And I'm like, dude, I mean, Bill Laimbeer would flop in 1990, but he didn't do that. He'd at least get hit when he flopped. And everything is so soft. It's just a pussification of this country in general. I mean, in football, where you can't hip drop tackle, what the hell are you supposed to do? Run a 4.2 40 against that running back so you can get in front of him and tackle him from the front? It's all stupid. There's inherent danger in almost everything in life. Yeah. And what we're doing is we're trying to eliminate that danger. Steve, when I grew up in the 1970s, my parents never once said, put your bike helmet on before you go ride your bike. Nobody thought about that. Sure.
I didn't have a bike helmet.
No, nobody had a bike helmet. And then we would take like a log.
Oh, you know what we wore? What? We had those Nazi helmets, those shells of Nazi helmets.
Don't say that. That'll get us shit.
Well, they were cool back then. Now
I'll tell you, what we used to do is we would get a log. All right, you put a board on the log, and you'd be like Evel Knievel, and you jump it. And there's pictures I've got still. I'd be like 5-6 feet up in the air on my bicycle with my baseball hat on. Yeah. Nobody cared. We would go in the woods and we would get lost. All right.
Oh yeah.
But you know what? We'd get found. The thing is this, if you don't live your life and you're always afraid of what's around the corner, you're never going to live your life. And right now, everything is so soft. It's just disgusting. It's just like, I don't care what you're protesting, but if you lay down on a bridge in front of me, I'm going to run your ass over because you need to get out of the way. Even if I agree with your cause, get out of the damn road.
Okay.
Stupid.
I was walking. I used to live in Indianapolis. I lived about 2 miles from the Coliseum. Okay, where the Pacers played when they were in the ABA.
That the fairgrounds?
The fairgrounds, yeah.
Okay.
We lived just on the other side of Fall Creek Boulevard, but I had to cross Fall Creek. I either had to go all the way around to Millersville Road and walk it, or in the winter, Fall Creek would freeze enough you could just walk across Fall Creek, and it cut probably a half hour off your walk to the Coliseum. Well, I'm walking one time, I'm crossing it, and guess who falls in?
You.
Guess who lives only because it's only 5 foot deep and I'm already over 6 foot tall. I hit the bottom. Okay, so I got buddies pull me out, and we go on to the Coliseum. I'm soaking wet. It's like 30 degrees. I just go in. We pay $1.50 standing room only to watch the Pacers play. And back then the Pacers were drawing maybe 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. So we just got to sit right down up in the front row for $1.50.
Yeah, and David Burnworth says everyone must get a trophy is when the killing of sports started. But that all started with like the beginning of youth soccer in like the late 60s.
Okay, let's get back. Let's get back to this.
This is all related, so just keep talking, Steve. We're fine.
Okay,
numbers have went up. Hold on, wait before you say anything. We got Balin. Back in the day, nobody wore a helmet. Nobody wore a seatbelt, even though a lot of cars didn't have seatbelts.
Didn't need them until I was like 67 or 68. They weren't.
But what the hell happened? LOL, masculinity is gone. Pussification took over. Hey, this is the thing, Balin. They're trying to make us believe there's more than two genders. They're trying to make us believe that men should be able to compete as women as long as they feel like a woman. It's basically lies. Our society anymore is based on lies. And the thing is, if you go against the lies, they will cancel you out. So everybody will just sit back and say, all right. The other day, there's a form, all right, because we got our granddaughters right now, and we had to fill out a form to watch them. And the first question on the form is, what are your pronouns? And this is not me either. My wife read it, and she looked at me. She said, what are our pronouns? And then she writes on there, we don't believe in pronouns. If you'd have seen my English grades in high school, you would know I didn't believe in pronouns, and I didn't even know what the hell they were.
You don't believe in pronouns now?
No, I don't even know what they are.
Shithead and dumbass are pronouns.
I know what a noun is. A shithead and a dumbass is a noun, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it depends on how you use it in a sentence.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I mean, it could be an adjective. Risley is a dumbass. That's an adjective.
No, that's the truth.
It's the truth, but it's still an adjective. Okay, Caitlyn Jenner. I think people.
Caitlyn Jenner. You said Caitlyn Jenner.
They showed it on the news this morning. Here's Tim McGraw.
I know
wearing a Fever jersey.
Now let me ask you a question.
Of course, he's in concert in Indianapolis.
Would you, as a male, would you wear an Indiana Fever jersey?
Yeah, I would right now. Sure, I'm proud to say she's an Indiana Fever. That's all LA they're talking about. The funny thing is, we talked off air. We got the Clippers and the Lakers in the playoffs. LeBron and Kawhi and all them. They're talking about the Fever every night, about Caitlin Clark.
Hell, LeBron and Kawhi are talking about it.
What?
LeBron and Kawhi. You know what's going to be funny is when they play their first game, with middle to late May, and it goes up and against an NBA playoff game, or early June goes up against an NBA Finals game. It's going to be absolutely hilarious when the Caitlin Clark game gets bigger TV ratings than the NBA Finals game.
It will. I guarantee you it will. At some point, the very first couple of Caitlin Clark games will outdraw NBA.
Oh, and this is the thing. If she's that good, if she's as good as it comes, she's averaging 30, 35 points a game. And I mean, they had the number one pick last year. They got some good players on this team. This is a team. I mean, the best thing for the WNBA would be the Indiana Fever to go to the finals. Balin, I barely passed English, even though I speak it. I used to piss teachers off when I told them I identified as an Appalachian American. LOL. Didn't need no English. LOL.
I love Appalachian Americans.
Yeah, and the good thing is you can't offend them because they don't have the internet.
His favorite song is Rocky Top.
Rocky Top's an awesome song, though. When
I love Rocky Top.
I saw at the KFC
Home
Yum
sweet
Center
home to me.
at the
Good
KFC Yum
old Rocky
Center
Top.
in
Rocky Top,
2019.
Tennessee.
Purdue played Tennessee in a great, I think it was double overtime game, and I was covering it for the Grueling Truth there. And I mean, there's like 12,000 drunk volunteer fans in there. And at every commercial break, they would play Rocky Top. I'll tell you, I ain't gonna lie. By the middle of the second half, I was singing along with them. I wasn't drunk because I had to write, and we've already discovered that I need Grammarly.
Yeah, I think Caitlyn Jenner is
Clark.
Caitlin Clark. God, it's about the 10th time I've done that too. Caitlin Clark is such a breath of fresh air. I think she's going to legitimize female sports a lot. I think she's really going to put it on the map in a way to where people are going to start looking at her capabilities, and she's going to raise everybody. She's going to bring visibility to
she's going to
all
make
the
it
other
mainstream,
WNBA
Steve.
players who may be good players. I don't know. I don't watch it enough to make a fair comment on it, but I'm kind of excited. I tell you, I watched as much of the girls' Final Four or girls' tournament as I did the guys, because IU was making a good run, so I was following Indiana, and then you're all wrapped up in the Caitlin Clark thing. I think she's kind of like Bird, like you said, wrapped into one. She's got a lot of weight on her shoulders. Let's hope she can bear it. She's carrying the league right now, and she's elevating.
Hey, this is the thing that's scary about it. She's carrying the league, and she hasn't even played a game yet.
Right. So I hope that's why I said the next big challenge is for her to be able to compete at the level.
Because see, their CBA and their TV deal is up. I think at the end of either this season or 2025. If they put up big numbers because of her, and she's that good, these girls may be coming in making $1 million a year then, because
all the games are ESPN games. ESPN's the one giving her the 38.
Because when you look at like the salary right now, even at $76,000, there are a ton of bonuses if you're a WNBA player, like for a WNBA champion, if you're on the team, 11 grand.
She still has incentivization.
Runner up 5,000 just to make the playoffs, 1,100 a player. The MVP,
there's still playoff money involved for everybody. Yeah.
So there's all kind of money you can get there, which is not huge money. But the thing is this: if she can double or triple that TV deal, or even more possibly, it could really get huge. Now, Robert says, "What about the fluff over the first?"
Robert, we'll get to that at the end. We'll get to that.
No, we can go for it now because Greg Doyle.
I think to wrap it up, I'm all for Caitlin, what she's doing. I'm proud of her for what she's doing for the girls. I think the first time the girls have a legitimate person being a forefront for them, I think she fits a lot of bills. She's going to be liked by a lot of America. She's a player. Everybody wants, like I said, there's no participation person going on here. This is a legitimate bona fide player.
Yeah, and it does help immensely that she's white.
It helps immensely that she's white. It bridges a couple gaps.
Hey, put it like this: if Larry Bird was black, him and Magic wouldn't have been
as special as the fact that when Larry was
because
white.
This is the thing. I remember watching a special about the 1984-85 NBA Finals, and they're talking to black guys that work at the Boston Garden.
Yeah,
who are you cheering for? Magic. He's like us.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and you get Laker people working for the Lakers, and they're white people taking tickets and stuff. And they ask them, "Who you here for?"
I remember that. That was on. Was that on? What was that
on? It was on during the finals. They just did a special.
There was a special about Bird and Johnson.
And I don't think there's a damn thing wrong if you're black cheering for somebody that's black.
I think what Caitlin's going to do.
And I don't think there's a problem with cheering somebody because they're white.
She's going to make everybody clear.
Let's get to Greg Doyle because.
All right, Greg Doyle.
Hold on. I want to know Robert's feelings because he says, I dislike Doyle. But now, this interview, when I watched this interview, this is the thing. If it would have been a regular reporter and not Greg Doyle, who has basically been a douche his whole life and been in trouble his whole life for saying stupid crap, it wouldn't be as bad. But Greg Doyle is creepy all on his own, even without it. And to watch a man in his probably 50s talk to a 22-year-old girl like that was disturbing, I thought. But I will say this. I think that it has been blown out of proportion I don't think I don't put it like this. I don't think Greg Doyle meant to be a creep. I think he just is a creep, but I don't think he meant it in a creepy way. I think he was trying to joke around with her, but it does disturb me that he said it. And then most of the people in that press room laughed or giggled when he said it. And see, my issue is this: women's sports can't be taken seriously until we don't worry about what they look like. We just worry about how they play. Nobody cared that Larry Bird was maybe the ugliest human being that ever lived. But if you look at Angel Reese, I mean, I know she did the crap where she was crying after they lost, said people, were over sexualizing her. But when you look up Angel Reese pictures, she's in a bikini in almost every one of them. So stop letting yourself being sexualized. Reporters need to stop sexualizing it, and they need to appreciate how good the player is instead of what they look like, which should not matter. Danica Patrick, if she'd have weighed 250 pounds and been 6'5" and been a woman, she would not have been near as famous, Steve.
No, I agree. I agree entirely. I can't disagree with you. I think that Doyle was just thought he was being funny. I don't think he meant anything sexually by it.
But since he's a douche, he doesn't know how to be
backfired on him. I mean, it's a comment that he meant nothing by it. And it really, like you said, most of the other reporters just laughed at it. She just didn't even comment back. Was like, that's so stupid. I don't even have a comment to come back on that.
I think she realized he was telling
and then the next day, he's writing a half-page apology letter, which probably came from the editors of the Star.
I don't know. I think that one probably came from him when they told him
to
fire his ass. Yeah. He didn't.
But all of the negativity came from social media. I mean, his partners there in the room with him, and even Caitlin there didn't say that's rude. She just ignored him.
But they all giggled. They laughed.
They all giggled. Yeah, you could hear the laughter in the background, and I think he walked out of that room not even giving it another thought.
Probably not.
And then he goes home. Then he starts reading all the social media on it, and then he's like, "Oh my God, what did I say? What did I do?" And then he realized that was a pretty stupid thing to say.
Well, I mean, Greg Doyle is basically an arrogant idiot.
I think that's it right there, Mark. I think you get the nail on the head. I think Greg's an arrogant reporter. I think
idiot.
He does the Colts. Doesn't he cover the Colts?
Yeah, he covers the Colts.
So it's the Colts are the top story in Indianapolis. And
not anymore. What's bigger, CaitlinClark or the Colts?
Well, right now it's Caitlinclark. If they stick with Anthony Richardson, it's definitely going to be Caitlinclark.
Yes.
They let Minshew go. That was a huge mistake, but don't get me going down that road.
All right, Steve. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up, I guess. Unless there's anything else you want to touch on or bring up.
No, we'll save everything else for the next show.
Robert Stewart knows Greg Doyle's pronoun, which is dumbass.
Dumbass. Yeah, exactly, Robert. That's as good an analogy.
And we know there's a lot of dumbasses.
Right.
So, I mean, hell, we knew one, that Brian Moore guy. If you're watching, Brian, you shouldn't be because you're protesting us and you banned Steve Risley. Go ahead.
In terms of Greg Doyle, it's like Bob Knight used to say. Most of us learn to read and write in the first grade and go on to bigger and better things.
Yes.
So that whatever. In the end, to wrap it up, I'm definitely now a 110% CaitlincClark fan.
So are we gonna start an Indiana Fever show then?
I think we should do a weekly Indiana Fever show for the season.
If Robert will watch, we'll do it.
Yeah, I'm all for it. It's something refreshing. It's new. It's different. I don't think there'll be a lot of people because we're fortunate enough that Indiana got Caitlin. What fun that is for the city. The city's a buzz about it. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm in LA. LA's a buzz about her.
Yeah. And it's going to come at the perfect time for them because it's going to come in May and June. There's no NFL yet. So they're going to have to run a May, June, and July before you get to college football in the NFL. And the other thing is this. I mean, it could compete with the NFL because they don't have to play on Sundays all the time. Balin asked if we catch all the IU football spring game last night. I did not. We will be doing an IU football show also, but I did TiVo it or whatever they call it because I'm going to watch it later on today. So maybe we'll do an IU football show here in the next week or so.
Probably on the Big Ten Network. You can probably just pick it up there too again.
I TiVo'd it because it was on there. But
yeah.
All right, Steve. If you want to follow Steve Risley, and why would you not want to follow Steve Risley? He's not Dan Dockage, which means he has a national championship ring.
You know the difference between me and Dan Dockage is?
Well, there's a lot. You're also 4 or 5 inches taller. You won a national championship. He bought his way into the Hall of Fame. You didn't.
No, but he held a puking, sick, 106-degree fever and Michael Jordan to 16 points.
No,
all 16 scored when Dockage was guarding him.
Michael Jordan fouled out. The thing that pisses me off as an Indiana fan is the way he gave away the Virginia game in the Elite Eight when they stole the ball from his white, slow, pasty.
We never talk about that, do we?
No, we don't. He ought to do a show about it.
Scored all 16 of his points while Dockage was guarding him.
Yes, and it was pathetic. The way if you go back and rewatch the game, because you can get it on YouTube, you really should. Because Dan Dockage, he may have been, he was a role player for Bob Knight. So let's put it that way. I don't think Dan Dockage was going to Purdue and averaging 25 a game like somebody like Steve Risley could have done in 1981. Not before 1981, because they had Joe Carroll.
I had a great time playing college basketball. I was very lucky and very fortunate to be play for Knight, play with Isaiah, and to have good teammates and a focused program.
Hey, and luckily Greg Doyle wasn't on the beat then.
And I got my college degree, which is the most important part.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's more important than your national championship ring?
More important than what?
Than your national championship ring?
Yes. The college degree, yes.
Really? There's thousands, hundreds of thousands. There's millions of people with college degrees, though.
Not many. Well, okay. I'm not going to go that route. Okay. I got mine. I'm not sure without basketball, without Knight, I would have gotten it.
Well, you obviously wouldn't have got it without basketball.
I would have been like some other guy I know that does podcasting and radio and owns some big radio station called the Grueling, whatever it is.
Hey, I was good enough to get there. I just got hurt. Not my fault.
Okay.
And I've got 6 national championship rings since coaching. So.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Okay, so
those are world championship rings, aren't they?
No, they don't play arena football all over the world.
Well, they don't play NFL football all over the world either.
No, they don't. Good point. So, yes, they are, Steve, but it says national champions.
They don't play baseball all around the world.
Yeah, they kind of play baseball all over the world.
No, not everywhere.
Where?
They don't play baseball in China.
Yeah, they do.
Do they?
Chinese Taipei was always winning a Little League World Series.
In Taipei and Taiwan?
Yeah, but I mean, it's right there. It's the same damn thing. At least the
Taiwan
Chinese
is not China.
They're right.
They're connected. Taiwan.
I know, because
we're sending 12 of our 22 aircraft carriers down to protect that little damn island right now, which is about the size of Rhode Island.
All right, Balin, you have a good one too. Thanks for listening. Follow Steve Risley at srisley34. Make sure you go to BetMGM for the top sportsbook for betting on the NBA playoffs or the Indiana Fever and the WNBA here starting in about a month. The preseason actually kicks off, I think, in 2 weeks. So I'm sure the preseason will probably get better ratings than what they've gotten over the last 23 years.
We'll do our first show in 2 weeks.
We will do the first. You
WNBA
give me fever.
Show.
What do you think? You give me fever. We'll call the show.
Let's go. Yeah, you give me fever. How about that? I love that. We're going to call it.
How about give me fever? All right. All right, guys. Now somebody else is going to do the show before we do and steal the name. But what the hell? You can follow me at Grueling Truths. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell notification on YouTube. But for now, for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.